I am Carrie Shepperson from Southern Songbird Farm, and I thought it would be fun to do another edition of our What's in My Pasture. The last one we did was early summer, late spring. Thank you so much for watching. It has like 12,000 views. So we thought, let's do a late summer one because there's new stuff growing. So I thought I would point out something that a lot of us see, especially in the southeastern United States and over toward the Midwest, is actually a tree you might find in your pasture. And it is Osage orange, which is behind me. It has thorny branches in its younger stages. When they first start to grow, they're very thorny. And then they grow up, and as they grow, they become less and less thorny. But I think what everybody knows about them is people around here in our area call them hedge apples. And this is the fruit of the tree. I don't think it's really good for much of anything except one of the folk wives' tales around here is that if you put a little basket of them around your doorways, it'll keep away the spiders. The only thing I've seen them good for is choking a cow, so we'll just leave that one alone. A couple other things I can point out in this sort of a shrubby corner of this back pasture is this is the bane of my existence. This is multiflora rose. It is a very dense rose family shrub that will snag you in a heartbeat. It is very difficult to eradicate. You really have to get way down in the root to kill it, and it's very prolific. The birds spread it, and it will take over a fence row, so you got to kind of keep that at bay. This is a very small area of it, and the cows really do a great job of cleaning out under here, so I'm not so worried about this one. This right here with the pretty purple flowers is ironweed. The goats absolutely love to eat the tops out of it and have actually really helped us to control it. So that's been great. The goats decided they love it, so we actually have really kept it at bay back here. Another thing that us allergy sufferers will know is this is common ragweed. And as you can see, there's really not much to it. It doesn't have very showy flowers. A lot of people mistakenly think that goldenrod that starts to bloom close to this time of the year, it's a little bit early for it yet, is what is making them sneeze in the fall, but it really is our little friend, the common ragweed. They happen to grow very closely together, so poor old goldenrod gets a bum rap. So let's go a little bit closer down to the creek and we'll see what's going down there. This is a common grass in our pasture. This is called purple top tridens. And you can see obviously why that's called that. A couple other fun friends in this general area. We have these are a longleaf ground cherry. They make these really cute little like Chinese lantern looking fruits that have a berry inside. Oh, there's a cute little spider. And they have a really pretty little flower. Here's a flower. That's a really nice way to be able to identify them quickly. Then over here, we have a cousin to our friend, the common ragweed. We also have its friend, the giant ragweed. There's an area we'll get to down closer to the creek where it gets about 6 or 7 feet tall. So it's very prolific. And then over here, where did I see you? Oh yes, over here, we have our friend, poison ivy. So leaves of 3, let it be. This year has been really bad for poison ivy. Usually we just have very little just right around the fence rows or in the shady areas under the trees, but this year it has really come out into the pastures. We had a very bad drought in June, followed by a ridiculously wet July. So I think it's just kind of made the weed situation a little strange. These guys that you can kind of see around here, these are yellow foxtail. They do have a cousin to some red foxtail that we might see on the other side of the hill. These are not great for horses, equines. Apparently it can give them a sore mouth, so we try not to cut that for hay or sell it to people who have horses, but the cows don't mind it and tromp it down and do a good job of controlling that. So let's head on down to the creek. I should also point out, because I did at the beginning of the video, we are in region 6B. So the USDA grow zones, we're in 6B. So if you're close to that, you might see some of these guys. And we are in central Kentucky, just for the record, geographically of where we are. So this right here is dotted smartweed. We're in a very weedy area right here because this was pretty much swamp because of the little stream behind me. But with the floods over the last 3 years that we owned this property, this is sort of dried out. So what we're doing is we are really intensively feeding the cattle back here with hay bales and trying to recuperate this area. So it actually has a lot more grass than it did before. But there's still a lot of weed as well. So let's look at this. This is something that you'll know when they get stuck to your clothes when you're out hiking. This is a cucklebur. Very, very common in many, many places. And then if we just step over here, this is a member of the amaranth family. And this right here, where did I see you? This is also in the kind of the same family as the little white dotted flowers that we looked at over there. This is also in the smartweed family. But this is a one with a purple flower, and a lot of people know this as lady's thumb. All right, let's keep moving onward. In more wet areas of your pasture, which is what we're getting into now, these are some things that you might see. This is straw-colored flat sedge, kind of bristly looking. And this, which honestly I haven't seen so much in the whole time we've lived here, it's become very prolific this year, is common boneset. So despite the name, this is not something that herbalists of old would have used to help heal breaks or something like that. They actually used to use it to, and I'm sure some herbalists still do. I am not one of those who do not take any of this as medical advice, but apparently it is very good at breaking a fever in the form of tea, and that's how it was used in the past. This is milkweed, swamp milkweed, which is a beautiful cousin in the milkweed family. And we should be coming up on some common milkweed, which of course is a wonderful ally of our monarch butterflies, here in just a moment. I managed to find my very good friend goldenrod. It just hasn't bloomed yet, but you can see some right here. You can tell by these alternating leaves as they go up the stem in kind of a radiating pattern. And then those beautiful yellow blooms will be here at the top. Right down here, this is called nodding spurge. And you'll find all kinds of these little spurges of different families around here. We're getting ready to let the cows back here in the field, so they will be excited. And that's why we're doing the video now, because they will absolutely obliterate this stuff. A couple other things we wanted to show you. This right here is just, some people call it a brambleberry or just a bramble. It's sort of like a wild blackberry in family. They really don't set much fruit around here. I'm not really sure exactly what species it is, but it is sort of a wild vining bramble of that type. And then over here, of course, we have our ironweed, which is just about out of season. We don't have a whole lot of it left between the weather and the goats. And then right here, this pretty frothy leaved plant is called frost aster, and it's really very pretty. So we're gonna head across the creek, and we'll catch you on the other side where we'll see some cinquefoil and hopefully some maypop. Okay, we found a beautiful common milkweed. And I'm very sad to say that I haven't seen the first caterpillar on any of them. We have seen a ton of breeding monarchs. I don't know if you all know that a few weeks ago they considered monarchs now on the endangered species list. So we've had lots and lots of breeding pairs that have been flying around and landing in the hedges. If you follow us on Instagram and Facebook, I've had some videos up of that. But I don't know if they haven't laid yet or they're just not choosing to lay on these milkweeds. I've had some other people in the area say that they've not seen a lot of activity on their milkweed either, which is kind of sad. Also behind me, you see a lot more cocklebur. This is all stuff that the cows will help to tromp down, eat, and eradicate. And then I'm going to let Doug pan down rather than me stumble down the creek bank for you. This beautiful little plant with the yellow flower down in the creek, that is called a floating primrose willow. And up in our little shallow ponded area, it grows in huge mats, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I do have one goat, Hank, who is pretty famous on Facebook, who loves it. So if you want to see a video of Crazy Hank eating primrose willow in the pond, that's where to go do that. And we're going to head on across the creek. Okay, this is one of my very favorite pasture plants. The goats love it, the cows will eat it, and it's actually really good for humans too. Obviously, again, consult a professional, but this plant has the most wonderful nervine qualities, makes wonderful tea, and it is called maypop or passion flower. It's a vining plant that has gorgeous flowers. It looks tropical, but it grows all over the southeast. It's just gorgeous. One of my very favorites. The bees right now, the wood bees and carpenter bees, are absolutely loving it. It does bear fruit right here. I've tasted it. To me, it doesn't have much flavor. They are edible. I'm not sure what some people do with them. I haven't really found a need for it because our animals love it. And then one more little thing that I want to show you that the maypop has kind of choked out a little bit is right down here. You will see cinquefoil or 5-finger grass. And that is also a common plant in this area. Okay, there's a few extra things in this area. Definitely one I want to point out this year that has been horrible for us. It showed up when like June-ish, and just absolutely took over some sections of our pasture, and we had never seen it before. Again, it's just been a very bizarre year for weeds. This looks an awful lot like our friend the ground cherry, but if you notice, it has some pretty wicked thorns on it and purple flowers. And this is Carolina dead nettle. It is kind of atrocious. It is poisonous to livestock. The cows and the goats won't touch it. People say goats will eat anything, but ours are very smart. I've yet to have them, knock on wood, kind of try to eat things that are bad for them. Down here is another big issue we've had this year. This is a climbing, sometimes people call it climbing milkweed or honey vine, and it has been absolutely choking out some areas of this farm this year. But then we have some of our friends. So this is chicory. It has beautiful purple blooms. They're all kind of dying out at this point. But the goats and the cows love it. So if you ever see those beautiful, like periwinkle purple flowers on the side of the highway, that's probably chicory. And the livestock will eat it. It's great for them. And if you've ever been to New Orleans and had chicory coffee, that is the root of that plant. They dig it up and roast it and mix it with coffee. So have you a little beignet and some Café du Monde. Okay, this right here is fleabane. Little white flowers. And this beauty right here is Queen Anne's lace. A lot of people are scared of it because of chiggers. We don't have an issue with that, but I think it's because we're not in a very wooded area. But this plant in particular has a lot of deadly lookalikes, like giant hogweed, water hemlock, and some others. But one way to know it's Queen Anne's lace is it's typically a short plant, doesn't get a whole lot taller than this. And then what Doug had just zoomed in on is right in the middle of their flowers, there's a beautiful, deep purple bloom. It's just beautiful. There's a lot of pretty folkloric stories about it, about Queen Anne having pricked her finger while sewing and mourning, and her drop of blood fell on the plant, and all kinds of folklore. So it's kind of fun to look up if you have a rainy afternoon. Thing to do is look up the stories about Queen Anne's lace. And then, as you can see, we still have a lot of fescue, orchard grass. This is probably the 50th time our red clover has bloomed. And we are just excited to still have really good pasture for our animals. Okay, so this is not any of our pastures, but it is around kind of this unused area of our barn, and really, we just haven't cut it down. But I'm really glad we haven't, because this is Jimson weed, also known as devil's trumpet. It has these spiny little seed pods, and then Doug, I don't know if you can get, they open at night, so it's not quite dark enough for them to be open yet, but they have these gorgeous flowers, and the smell is absolutely intoxicating. But the reason why I love them so much is because they attract hawk moths and hummingbird moths. And I'll try to splice in a video I caught, a slow motion video of the moths feeding, but they're the size of a hummingbird and move the same way, and they're so cool. So we do like to leave a little Jimson weed around because it attracts them. This is extremely poisonous. It is hallucinogenic. Do not ingest this. But it is okay to have around. I've never had an issue with our animals eating it. So it is very prolific in that it does spread. So if you don't want it around, you better get it quick. And then right over here is another one of our sort of American weeds that everybody is pretty familiar with. This is pokeweed. And these berries will get that deep black, almost purple color. Again, they are also poisonous. Do not ingest the berries. You can make them into some ink if you want to and you're feeling very crafty, but don't try to eat them off of the bush. When poke is tiny and just sprouting out of the ground, it is very edible, and people in our neck of the woods call it poke salad. And you can pick some and eat it in the spring, but just be very careful of your identification and know how to cook it right. I think that that is all that I can see around here that is pretty common in the late summer, early fall in the pastures in this zone. If you have any questions, please comment below. We are happy to answer. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so that you can always get our new videos, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook so you can see funny videos of cows, us, and goats. And we will see you next time. Thank you so much.